That's me, Franny.
Hi, my name is Franny. So actually, I came over from YouTube to podcasts, and the reason why is honestly, it was just a lot. YouTube is honestly a lot of motherfucking work, and it was too much for me. So I figured might as well do the same thing, but in a podcast form. Visually, people are still gonna see my reactions. They're still gonna love to see this face. And, also, it's not that crazy. I'm going to be here in the podcast room provided by HGAP Studios, which is where I work, studio manager at HGAP, which actually goes into what today's topic is about, which who is Franny? Where's she from? Who the fuck is she? Who is this bitch with great hair? Good question. Let's begin. So, I'm Francesca. My full name is Francesca Roger, but you can call me Franny. I was born in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I was raised in North Bergen, New Jersey. So I moved to Miami when I was 7, but my life in New Jersey was really great. My dad, he owned a business called Mr. Rogers, which obviously because our last name is Roger, bitch, in New York. And he actually sold Italian tuxedos, which is fun. Moneymaker, period. And fun fact is that the bachata band Aventura was actually one of my dad's customers. And this is when they were like starting off. So they didn't really have a lot of coin, So my dad actually had to put all their tuxedos on layaway. So that's a cool fun fact. And every single time Romeo Santos would come to the store, he would call my sister and be like, look who's here. And I was just like, oh my God, Romeo. So yeah, that's a cool fun fact. So actually my dad and my 2 sisters, I have 2 older sisters, Liana and Jasmine. They moved to Miami before me and my mom did, because at the time my mom was working for the mayor of New Jersey, of North Bergen per se. And she had like a contract with him. So they had to stay for a year working for the mayor. So my mom had to complete that year. So I stayed with my mom while my dad and my 2 sisters came to Miami. So it was kind of like a long distance relationship between my family members and me and my mom. And I stayed there, and I didn't really want to leave because I had friends in New Jersey that I'm just like, you can't make me go in the middle of a school year to like a whole ass like new state and like try to make friends. So I was there living with my mom for a little bit, and then I finally moved to Miami. Fun. So fast forward to like middle school. I feel like all my life I've been an introvert / extrovert. In middle school, I definitely became more of an introvert. I feel like I started caring a lot what people thought about me, and I just didn't really like understand how to interact with people, And it was a kind of like a moment in my life where I was like, I need to kind of release this into an outlet, like where I can be myself, because at school I couldn't. So when I moved here, my dad owned another store, but this time it was revolved around Miami, which was Levanta Colas for Colombians. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically these Colombian jeans that would make your ass look like super fat. And my dad owned a store that he would sell these, and they were like expensive as jeans. Like they would run from like $50 to like $100. So I would always go with my dad to his store, and I would always be so bored. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, he would open the store at like 10 and close at 10. So I got into filmmaking, which is where my creative journey begins. So I would use my dad's phone, and he had like a camera on it. And I would do little music videos. So I would be around his store, and I would just like record pieces of a song. And then he had this really like nice computer that he barely used. He would use his laptop a lot. So I would use that one to go on Windows Movie Maker and start editing these clips together and make little music videos. And I didn't really put them anywhere. I just made them for myself, just for fun. And then my dad was like, oh, like, you should like start a YouTube channel. And mind you, I was like in 7th grade, and I'm like, I mean, I love YouTubers. I would always be on YouTube till this day, bitch. I'm still in love with like YouTube. But I was like, oh, like, I mean, it's whatever. And then I tried actually like posting things on YouTube, and it took too long. I guess like the computer I had, I thought was great, but apparently it wasn't, because it would take like 5 hours to fucking upload something. So eventually I just kept it to myself, and it's really sad. I lost all of that footage. I wish I still had it, because I would be putting it all on the visuals. If you're listening to podcasts, go head over to my YouTube channel. Yep, that's me, Franny. So then that way you can see what it is I'm talking about. But I kind of lost all that footage because, you know, I accidentally kicked the actual computer part because I started putting my legs on it, since it was like a really big piece of the computer. I would just put my legs on it when I would like edit or use a computer, and then I kicked it over, and the computer just stopped working. And my dad tried to take it to somewhere so they can recover the files, and it just like wasn't cutting it. So RIP to that footage, bitch. But just know I would edit music videos. I would do like horror films. I don't know why I was so obsessed with like acting scared. Like I was like a monster. And then the best part was that I would be the monster too. So I would talk into the mic and be like, wow. Oh my God, I was so dumb. Like, who is she? Like, my creativity was out of this world. I would play like 10 roles, and I would like put a black cloth over myself and like chase myself down the hall. But honestly, like for what it was and the age I was, it was fucking good, bitch. Like, maybe it's just me, but whatever. So fast forward to, I would say, like my college years. College was rough for me. It's not like I went anywhere, bitch. I went to community college. I went to Miami-Dade College. If you know, you fucking know, bitch. But honestly, I was so like lost. I was so lost because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be no fucking business major. I didn't want to fucking get a nursing degree. That's just like not who I am. I've always been a creative person. I've always wanted to be hands-on with whatever it is that I had to do. And something my dad always taught me, which I love him, he always said, if you really love what you're doing, you never feel like you're working. And whenever I would go to school and take all these stupid ass classes for business, because that's what I decided to major in, I was like, bitch, this is not fun. Like, I don't like any of these classes. I don't like it. And so I decided to switch my business major to health service administration, like if that helped at all. It really didn't, but whatever. I decided to try it out. So I switched over to health service administration, and my classes were a little easier, but they were still not what I wanted. So I was in college for about 2 years until I decided, like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm just going to take a break. And my break was just taking a break during summer, which really is nothing. I think it's like maybe like 3-4 months. And I started working full time at Massage Envy. And I know that sounds like, bitch, Massage Envy, like what the fuck are you gonna find there? Like, what inspiration, you know? It wasn't for that. It was just because it was an easy job, even though it was not an easy job. Like, shout out to my manager, because she is like, I think one of the best managers I've had like so far, including the people I work with now. But up to that point, she's like the best person that I have worked with. And I was working full time, just kind of like getting money, whatever. And my parents were so mad that I wasn't going to school that they were like, you got to pay rent, bitch. And I'm like, bitch, what? I have to pay rent just because I don't want to fucking go to school? Like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, like, you don't want to fucking like go to school, you got to pay rent. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I think my rent, which is nothing, was like $400 a month, whatever, you know? So I was working full time, like almost 7 days a week. And then on my free time, what I would do is just get drunk. Like, literally, I was getting drunk like almost every other day, going to the bar. All my money was spent going to Heart and like Space. If you know, you know. If you're from Miami, you know those are the spots. And then one day I was just like, I don't like how I feel. I don't like being so hungover all the time that I can barely like open my eyes in the morning. I don't like the feeling of this. Like, I even tried to like work out to make it seem like I'm doing something, and it didn't help at all. Like I was still continuously drinking and still doing the most. And I was just like, I'm not really happy with my life. I need to make a change, right? So I decided that I wanted to go back to school. What I wanted to do, I don't know. I was still like super confused. So then I just like started thinking about all the things that made me happy growing up. Like, what did you really like, Francesca? What were the moments in life that you really enjoyed? So I started thinking, and I was like, I mean, like, I like to do hair, right? I like to do makeup. So I'm like, that's a fun start, right? So on my day off working at Massage Envy, I went to the America, like, I don't know, some fucking beauty schools. I went to like 5 of them. And when I went to these beauty schools, I made an appointment to see like an advisor there. They gave me the breakdown on the financials, which my parents were super open to helping me with, which is great. But yeah, they started breaking down like the courses, like what I'll be learning. And I had no interest because, not gonna lie, like I knew how to do all the things that they were fucking telling me to do, like how to apply foundation, how to like properly contour your face. And then they had separate courses for like eyelash extensions and all that. And I'm like, honestly, like I don't really give a fuck about this. And like hair was like bleaching it. I didn't really care about that either. So at least I tried, I was like A for effort. I fucking tried, but this is not it. So then I went back and I kept thinking about what else I wanted and what else I enjoyed. And then I thought about that moment when I was in 7th grade making stupid ass short films, me talking to Mike like, wow, like I thought about that moment and I'm like, why don't you become an editor? Like, I think that's a thing. At this point, I didn't really know anything about like that side of creativity. And I'm like, why don't you become an editor? And I'm like, that's not a bad idea, Francesca. Let me like fucking look into that. So I looked up courses in Miami-Dade College of editing, and it existed. There's editing 1, 2, and 3. And then depending on like if you want to get your bachelor's, your master's, there's more. Not your master's, your bachelor's. So then I decided to go to Miami-Dade College, specifically North Campus, because that's where they said that that's where the editing classes would be. So I went there, I made an appointment, I talked to an advisor, and I was like, hey, so like I'm a little lost in life. He didn't give a fuck. He was just like, okay, hear this every fucking day of my life. Let's go, like keep it going. And then he was like, okay, like what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to be an editor. And he's like, okay, so you're going to be a film major. And I'm like, no. I don't want to make movies. I just like want to edit like cool things. And he's like, okay, well, in order to take the editing classes, you have to be a film major. And I'm like, okay, what does that entail? Like, what would I do? And he's like, okay, you'll be like writing scripts. You'll be like actually making movies like with a camera and like all this stuff. Like you'll learn really how to make movies. And I'm like, that's like, bitch, that's like intimidating. Like I'm not like, this is not who I am, I just want to be an editor. And he's like, just try it out. Like try out like a few classes, mainly try film 1 and editing 1 for your first semester, and then tell me what you think about it. And I'm like, okay, fine. And because he told me that like we'll be writing scripts, making movies and all this, I'm like, I am not taking 4 classes, bitch. I'm taking 2 classes at a time so I can still have a job, and then take these courses, because it takes a lot of work to write scripts, to edit, and to make movies. Like it takes a lot of effort. So I'm like, I'm not going to overwhelm myself. Like if I'm just trying this out, bitch, 2 classes at a time. So for my film 1 class, I was super scared, super nervous when they were going around the class. Like, what's your goal? Like for like film, like, what do you want to do? And then I remember I stood up and I'm like, so like my goal is like, I just like want to be like an editor, like for YouTube. And they're like, girl, like sit the fuck down, bitch. And I'm like, yeah, that's like my goal, I just want to edit. And they're like, okay, anyways. Next. So then as the course went on, one of the first assignments was making a storyboard. So if you don't know what a storyboard is, it's basically around 10 to 15 pictures that describe your story. So I really, really wanted to like kill it, because the thing with the storyboard is everyone had to pitch their story, and only I think 5 films were actually made, because it takes obviously a village. It takes a team, a director, an assistant director, producer, the DP, the editor, like you have to have a team. So I think it was like maybe 6 to 7 people working within one group. So therefore I think it was like 5 films that were actually picked. So I really was thinking about it. I was like, I don't really know what to make mine about. I definitely wanted to be something impactful, because, you know, that means a lot to me. I wouldn't just want to come up here and be like, oh, spooky story. Like, no, no, no. I wanted to really make an impact. So I came up with the idea of my first short film, which means a lot to me. I think it's one of my favorites of all times. It's called The Real You. And basically what it's about this one guy that he is eager to give this person his phone number. And the whole time, the perspective, the way that the camera is shown is that you think he's giving it to this girl that's in his way, in his peripheral. And it ends up being that he actually wanted to give it to a guy, but he ends up getting scared and gives it to the girl instead. So the girl texts him a picture of her and her girlfriend, and the text says, "It's okay to be the real you." So then he ends up giving the guy the phone number, and then the movie ends. How'd I do that in 10 to 15 pictures? I don't remember. I'm going to try to find a picture of like my actual storyboard. I might still have it because it means a lot to me. And actually, I was like one of the favorites of the class. Not to brag or anything, but like I was popular, bitch. So after that class, the next class, she had to decide, the professor, which movies were actually going to be made. And mine was chosen. Wow. Mine was chosen, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, me? I would have never thought. Like, mind you, I was like, oh my God, what is this gonna be about? Like fucking freaking out. So I was chosen to make The Real You created. So I had a really great team, and something that they taught us in film school was professionalism, how to be very professional. You always have to be on time. You know, you always have to like make sure that everyone and everything is good to go. So I took that upon my hand since I was like director. I wanted to make sure everything was good. So I set up like meetings with certain people about like how I wanted the shots, you know, if they can help me create certain things. So I really did the most for just film 1. I feel like everyone just met up in class and they're like, okay, bye. Like, not me, bitch. I was like, what are you doing at 4:30? Like, just outside of class, like really trying to get it done. And because of that, I feel like it was pretty good. For being film 1, I really think that I killed it. The editing, like I look back on it now, my sound effects were really loud and shit, but you know, it was good. So good to the point in my head that I had to be super fucking extra and throw a premiere party. Like, who am I? Like, I really think about that and I'm like, who the fuck am I fucking throwing a premiere party for my film 1 short film that was literally like 5 minutes, no dialogue, bitch, all just sound effects and all like visuals. Like, who am I, you know? So I was like, I'm gonna throw a premiere party. You know what? Fuck it. I'm so proud of myself. I've found my niche. Like, look at me. So I got a projector. I fucking threw a premiere party. I invited my friends. I invited the people who helped me create The Real You. And I told them, like, because everyone had to create a different version of my story that worked within my team, which is kind of dumb because it's like, if I have a vision, don't fucking change it, you know? But whatever. I'm gonna let it slide because it's film 1. And I told them that they can show their films too. So one of them came and he showed his. So it was cool to see like different perspectives on how they like thought about it. And yeah, I did it and it was super cute. I'll put like little pictures here of me in my premiere party. I ironed my hair and everything. Like, I'm so extra. And it was because it was cold out. So I was like, my curly hair's not gonna frizz. And it fucking did, but whatever, fuck it. So I kept going to film school. I fucking loved it. I actually, kind of sad, I still don't have my AA, bitch. It's been like, bro, I'm 23 now and I started going to school when I was 17. So just think about that. And I have a bunch of unused credits because I changed my major so many times. But I basically have 2 classes left. So don't judge me, bitch. But we're gonna fast forward to where I am now and why I think that like I mean I'm gonna finish it because might as well, but I feel like I'm really happy with where I am right now. So let's just keep going. Oh my god, this amazing sound. Okay, so fast forward, I love school and I was like fucking killing it. I was like editing 2, editing 3, film 2, film 3, like let's get it, like period. But I wanted to start doing things outside of school. Not saying that I didn't, because for film 2 and film 3 and film 4, you have to create projects outside of school. Like it's not all in school. So that, you know, I learned how to deal with, but I wanted to do shit on my own, like create my own ideas and just really venture out. So my friend Josiel, which actually fun story about that, I actually had a podcast with him. We actually did like 4 episodes and like we just stopped doing it. I don't know what happened, but we just kind of stopped doing it. But he is a really big aspect of my life in the sense of creativity. I feel like we were our oh my god, I can't say that. Accountability buddies for a long time. And I think we still are. Like whenever we have like really grand ideas, we link up and we're like, so what do you think? So I really do, and I really am grateful for him. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that topic. So basically, me and Josiel go back in high school. I met him my senior year. Like he had me for a class and I had no idea who this kid was until one day we were playing like Heads Up. And I was like, oh my God, like who the fuck is this kid? And he was like laughing and I was like, yo, you're kind of funny. But then after that, we really didn't really talk. And then one time I saw him in Miami-Dade and he was in like what I call the creative floor and the creative building, which is where I had my film classes. And I'm like, what are you doing on this floor? And he's like, oh, I'm actually studying graphic design. And I'm like, oh, like fire. Like, what are you learning in that class? And he's like, oh, I'm doing Photoshop. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like, oh my God, that's so much fun. Well, like I'm doing like filmmaking. So like maybe we can connect and like kind of like really think about ideas that we can merge. And he's like, yeah, that's fire. Like, I want to get into like photography and all this. And I'm like, bitch, me too. So ever since that day, we kind of like held each other accountable for like ideas. So we would meet at Starbucks every now and then, either working on our own things. And then we would talk about like, oh, what if we would do this? What if we did this? What if we did that? Like we just had so many ideas, but we realized we're only 2 people. So we're like, we need to start a group. We need to start something bigger than us. So I'm like, okay, let's do it then. Fuck it. Like, what's holding us back? So we sat there and we're like, how are we going to do this? Like, I know we're like thinking big, but how are we going to do this? And I'm like, so what I can do, social media is our best friend. Let's post a story. Like, hey guys, whoever's interested in creating and needs like a group to create, let us know. So we decided to set up a meeting at Panera Bread. Out of all places, which is fire though. Panera Bread. And I made a little questionnaire. Like, what is it that you want to do as for the creative industry? Like, where's your strengths, your weaknesses? Literally like an interview. Just so I can get a gist of like how everyone could benefit the group, right? So a couple of my film friends from film school came, and then a few of his friends came. And then whatever, we talked about it and we decided that we wanted to create like big things, like not big things, but create like short films, like maybe once every 3 months. We talked about what we do as individuals. Like I have a friend, which I'm still super close with. He actually does drag. His drag name is Viola, if you wanted to go check him out. So good. But basically, that's what he wanted to do, like just drag makeup tutorials and all this. So I was like, okay, perfect. Like you can have a playlist within our YouTube channel of what you like. And then my other friend, she wanted to show like how she like designs graphics on her computer, like tutorials. I'm like, okay, that's great. So then you can have another playlist. But then at the end of the day, we're all a collective. So we had to come up with a name, right? And then we really thought about it. We're like, we try to name everyone's name and then use the acronyms of like everyone's name. It was so stupid, but we came up with a toss. So what a toss meant to us was all types of shit, because we all did all types of shit. Like we didn't have one thing that we specifically did. So we came up with that, and then it was really great. And then when it came to actually meeting up, you know, everyone was busy. I would always try to connect like maybe once a week, like, hey guys, let's have like coffee or let's have dinner, let's talk about what we want to do so we can move on to the next steps, like whatever. I was really trying out here, and so was Josiel, but I understand people were busy and it just didn't work out how I thought it would. So then me and Josiel were back to square one, which is just with each other. So we're like, you know what, fuck it. Like, let's just like ride the wave, whatever. It is what it is. So Josiel ended up using his best friend's camera, and we would go and do like shoots. Like I would be the model, and then like we would switch, and then I would use the camera, and then he would be the model. So we would just kind of like take turns on like creating. And then he got an iPad, and then I got a MacBook. So like we just kept like leveling up like our gadgets, and then we kept getting better and better at like our craft. And then like whenever we would hear about events or whatever, we're like, we should check them out. But we were both so scared to like actually do it. And then one day, my friend, Marisol, she DM'd me because she's like, hey, I see you're doing like photography. And at this point I had a photography page, which I don't even use anymore, but I did because I wanted that dream, you know. So she's like, hey, I see you're having a photography page. I just wanted to let you know there's an event in Wynwood called Meet Your Muse, and like you guys should definitely come. And she messaged me and my friend Kim, which backstory about that, like really quick, me and Kim used to hate each other. We used to hate each other in middle school. And there was just like a lot of drama, whatever. But now we're best friends. Like we're literally so inseparable. Like literally after this, I'm going over her house and cooking dinner. Like that's how close we are now. It's crazy. But anyways, so me and Kim like just didn't talk for like ever. So she told us about it. So then Kim messages me on Instagram and she's like, hey, are you going to this event? And I'm like, I don't know, bitch. I don't think I'm ready for that. And then she's like, girl, like you literally take pictures all the time and like you model too. Like let's check it out. Cause Kim, she also models. She's an aspiring model. She does a lot of things now. Like I feel like she's grown so much as a creative too and as a person. But anyways, she's like, let's just go. Like you bring your camera, like, you know, dress cute, like I'll be your model, like, you know, we'll just go together. And I'm like, okay, fine. Bitch, I was so nervous. I literally made, this is so extra, oh my god, I can't with myself. I made a portfolio on my fucking album, like my photos album of all my work. So if people came up to me and they're like, what do you do? I can just be like, look, like just in case like they thought I wasn't good enough or some shit, like look at my work, you know, like trying to be legit. So I even asked Marisol, I'm like, is this a legit event? Like, or like, how do I dress? Like, you know, she's like, girl, like it's open bar, like a DJ, like literally it's not that serious. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So me and Kim arrive to HGAB, which is where I am now. How funny. That was in 2019, January of 2019, never forget. So we get here and we see people coming in and I'm like, Kim, like, I'm really scared to go in. And she's like, bro, let's just like get drunk. We'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. So we go in and we go straight to the open bar, bitch. I get like a drink. I'm like chugging that shit because I'm so nervous, which is so bad. I'm not recommending you guys drink to like settle your nerves, but it does help a lot. Liquid courage is awesome. So I go and then I actually see people that I recognize and I'm like, oh my god. And then like they're like, oh my god, you're Franny. And I'm like, yeah, you're like this person. And then they're like, yeah. So like we would talk every now and then. I'm like, oh my god, fun. Like I don't feel like an outcast. So at this Meet Your Muse specifically, Kim met her now boyfriend for now 2 years almost, Roberto Gatica. So Gatica actually works at HGAB and he is the editor there. And I saw them hitting it off and I was like, oh my god, like me being the fun aunt, I'm like, let me go away so like they can like talk and stuff. So they started to talk, whatever, and then after that, like they stayed talking. And I still was going to every Meet Your Muse and I told Kim, I'm like, dude, I really want to work there. Like, what can I do? Like, you know? And then she's like, well, Gatica says they're having internships. And I was like, oh my God, for real? And she's like, yeah. So this was around, I would say like May of 2019. And so I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to apply. So I sent my resume, and by resume in this industry is not like of like actual physical resume, like where you worked and stuff, yes, but it's more so a portfolio. Like, what have you edited? What have you done? Whatever. So I sent that. I had quite a few things under my belt because I was going to school, so I made a lot of content for school, and also I was creating content with Josiel. So I had a good amount of things under my belt. So I sent it, and then they got back to me. They took me in for an interview, and the one who interviewed me was Kendrick, which is actually the CEO of HGAB. And I was so nervous. I got here 30 minutes before because I'm like, bitch, I'm showing that I'm professional. I dressed super nice. I wore like this little blouse with slacks and tacones, bitch, like heels, because I wanted to show like I'm about it. So Kendrick interviews me, and I felt super comfortable with Kendrick because it was like kind of talking to like a friend, you know, and he kind of just, he put my resume to the side and he's like, just tell me about yourself. Like, let's just talk. And I'm like, okay. So I kind of telling him like about what I was doing. And at this time, which I'm kind of gonna backtrack a little bit, but I was actually volunteering for a nonprofit organization called Filmgate. And Filmgate, what they would do is they would throw film festivals every single month, and they would also throw events. So basically, I was just kind of like volunteering there, and I would kind of help out with the film festival, like announcing the winner, little things like that, that just made me like kind of see different films and like just be in that industry. So I kind of was telling him about that. I told him kind of like the basics of everything I'm telling you guys about Josiel and trying to start like this group, whatever. And then he was like, okay, cool, like we'll let you know. So like a week passes, and I'm like, oh my god, they haven't like emailed me, like fuck, I'm scared. So then they finally got back to me, and they're like, hey, just want to let you know that like we loved you and we want you to like intern for us. These are our hours. And then this is when I was like, fuck. So the hours that they had was like the working hours was 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, at that time, I was working for Orange Theory. So my hours were 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Those were my only two options. And then I was going to school right after my 5 a.m. shift. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Because I prefer this over fucking school and like my actual job. So I changed my whole entire schedule around, like canceling classes, like just figuring it out. So I came to terms that I was going to work at Orange Theory 5 a.m. to 12 p.m., asking them if I can come in at 12 instead of 10. And then working from 12 to 6 at HGAB. And then I would have like Tuesdays and Thursdays off. So that's when I would go to school all day. So I was doing that. And basically, if you think about it, I had 3 jobs basically. I was going to school Tuesdays and Thursdays, working basically 7 days a week at Orange Theory. And then internshipping, I guess, at HGAB. And it was definitely a lot. Like during that time, I was always tired. Like I had no energy to do anything. But it was so much fun being in this environment because what I would do is I was editing. I was editing content as for like recap videos for Meet Your Muse. Any events that we would have, I would edit those as well. But my internship, like I did a little bit of everything. There wasn't one specific thing that I did. I was in charge of editing content, yes, but there were so many other things that I helped out with. Then one day I was like, you know, I want to like pitch something because I want to like really, I want people to understand that HGAB is more than just what it seems like, which is like a photography, video, podcast studio. There's like emotion into it, you know, like people that come here, they love the hospitality of it and they love the people that work here. So I'm like, let's start a vlog. Like, let's just start a fucking vlog, you know, where we can showcase what we do within a week, how hard we work, you know, to make our customers happy. So I pitched the HGAB vlog, and this was my fucking baby. Okay, like it was my fucking baby. So like halfway through my internship, I started doing this HGAB vlog and I loved it. It was so great. And then one day, Busy approaches me and she's like, oh, Franny, do you have a second? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, I just want to talk to you. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired from my internship. Like, what the fuck? What did I do, bro? Like, what happened? So she pulls me aside and she's like, I just want to say that, like, you're really killing it. Like, you're doing such an amazing job. Like, we really, really like you here and we want to offer you a job. And I'm like, a job? And she's like, yeah, we want to offer you a job. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was going to get fired. And she's like, no, like, you're like so great and like we really want you to, like, you know, be a part of our team officially. And I 100% said yes. And at first, you know, they were like, oh, we want you as like a part-timer, you know, and then we can work up from there. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. So when I accepted the job, I was like, okay, now what am I going to do with my other job? At first, I was going to like cut it cold turkey completely. But I figured, like, because I'm doing part-time at HGAB and part-time at Orange Theory, I could do both, right? Wrong. Like, that shit stressed me the fuck out. I was working 7 days a week. Once again, I thought because, like, you know, I was trying to balance both that I could, but it was really, really hard. Like, I think I was doing HGAB from 10 to 6 and then Orange Theory on the days I wasn't doing HGAB, either 5 a.m. to 12 or 2 to 10. Like, it was just a lot. So then I ended up fully quitting Orange Theory and then just working full time at HGAB. And I've been working here ever since. So before the pandemic happened, let's fast forward to that because that was intense as fuck. I mean, we all felt it, you know. So before the pandemic happened, I was still editing content. The HGAB vlog was scratched because we did have to focus on so many other things, the marketing behind HGAB in the sense of like social media. So I became a social media manager for HGAB Studios. And my job was basically to delegate the team, okay, this is the content that we need for this day. Gatika, if you can whip up an edit. Mari, if you can create a design, and whatever it is. So that was my job here at HGAB before the pandemic, because it changed so many times, which I don't mind. But yeah, just kind of going through the notions of the different positions that I've been in. And then we had interns come to HGAB, like this was like in March. And, you know, I thought I was like killing it and like everything was going great. And then the pandemic hit, which sucked ass. That was like a whole nother story that I'm going to mention in another podcast, which stay tuned, bitch. There's more episodes. You thought this was the only one? Negative. So, yeah, during that pandemic, it was a lot because I loved my job and I fucking love it. And I love school because it taught me so many things. But those things were both cut cold turkey from one day to the next. And I am the type of person that I am so picky with my time. Like, I organize my life to the T. I have maybe 5 agendas on me at all times. I have one huge calendar in my house that I update all the time. Like, I am so picky because I want to be productive. I want every day that I'm doing something that's going to benefit me in the long run. Whether it's working out, even meditation, therapy, like I'll schedule all those things in combined with like my work and everything. So that was really fucking hard. So after that happened, I decided to work at another studio. Rivalry. No, I'm kidding. So I decided to work for another studio called 24 Hour Studio, which, let me just say, very different. A very different dynamic. And I'm not saying it in the best way possible, but when I say different, okay. And it's not a bad thing. I just think that this company was just starting off. So I felt, me and my friend, because my friend got the job with me, which is amazing because we work really well together. So I'm like, thank God, at least I have somebody that I work super well with. So we got the job and we were just like kind of going through it because we felt like we had to do something that would take a team of 10 people for just 2 people. So the workload was insane. We were like trying to do 101 things and it just sucked because we felt like the effort wasn't reciprocated from the own CEO of that company, which sucks, you know. But then I got tested positive for COVID, which again is a whole nother story. This was back in July and I went through like the notions, whatever. I'm going to talk about that, the full details later. But yeah, I went through that. And then later within like August, like the first week of August, H Gap Studios calls me back and they're like, "Hey Franny, like how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm good." Hehe. They're like, "So we have an opportunity for you." And I'm like, "Oh my god, bitch, thank God," because I cannot deal with this fucking other job. So they actually offered my position back. It was going to be a little different right now, which is where I am now, which is a studio manager position. Before I was like, again, a social media manager, which is still manager, like managerial type. So that's basically where I am now. And there's a lot more opportunities coming, I feel like, for HCAB and for me as an individual. I also have been freelancing a lot in the sense of on my days off, I either am on set for an art direction gig, a photo shoot. I've been a model in a music video. So there's just like so many moving parts. And yeah, like I'm just super happy with where I am today. I just think that if I would have never kind of went through that dark path in my life, that I was like depressed and drinking every day, working full time, and then just deciding like I need to change this, I would have probably never been where I am today. Yeah, so that is really it for this episode. I really wanted to talk about where I started in my creative journey and where I am now. I feel like this podcast, what you can look forward to in the future is really just a little bit of everything. I am the type of person that I do not give a fuck if I have to put myself on the line to make people understand that we're human. Something that I am very open about is mental health. I think that therapy is everything. Not everything, but therapy is like very useful. I also, have a lot of story times that for other people might be embarrassing, but for me, obviously, I don't give a fuck. So just stay tuned for just a little bit of everything. And yeah, it's just me, Franny Ting, just killing the world, conquering it one day at a time. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for listening and subscribe, do all of that good stuff. I don't know what you're supposed to do in podcasts. Just listen, share with your friends. If they're lacking motivation, like send them this, because we all start somewhere, honestly. We literally all start somewhere. And if I would have never like thought about like, oh, okay, like maybe I should change something in my life, or maybe I should do something different, again, I probably wouldn't have been here. Even with the idea of this podcast, I hit up my friend Frankie, which she's in the room. Shout out to you. Woo! Her name's Francesca too, by the way. Stay tuned for her podcast because she's coming soon. And yeah, I was just like, girl, like, I'm just going to do it. Fuck it. Like, if I wait for like a perfect opportunity, that's just never going to happen. So I'm just going to do it. And then I thought about this idea and I just scheduled it. And I'm like, let's get it. So here we are. So yeah, I'm excited. Stay tuned. And thanks for listening. I love you.